Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome. You are now tuned into another amazing edition of Sanya On Air. I am your host, Sanya Hudson Payne, and I start off each and every single episode by saying, this is another great episode. Every time I enter into the studio, it's intentional. I'm excited. I can't wait to talk to you. A high level of anxiety consumes me because I always have phenomenal interviewees or guests, celebrity conversations to bring to you. Joining me today, I have none other than actor Jamel Howard. He first played on The First Purge, Luke Cage Brains, that was the name of the episode. He was also on season 4 of Power, also Orange is the New Black, and Tales, the Trap Queen episode. I don't know if you've seen Tales on BET, but it was an amazing series, executive produced, and I think created by Irv Gotti. Shout out to Murder Inc. They're making a comeback for 2020. Joining me later on in the show, I have another actress, Andrea Rachel Parker. Now, we used to love to hate her. She was on season 5 of Power. She played Tariq's girlfriend. I'm going to talk about that. But most recently, she played on Wu-Tang and American Saga. That's on Hulu. Another amazing channel I think I really slept on, and it wasn't until this series premiered that I decided to get Hulu. Yeah, and I got it legally too. So that's a good thing. And if you haven't seen her on HBO's The Deuce, make sure that you check that out. I really love that show. I believe they're in season 2, I believe, but we'll confirm that when Andrea joins me later on in the studio. Because I grew up in an era in New York City where 42nd Street was a place at first where you didn't want to be because it was consumed by drugs and prostitution. Then it became this place in the 80s that we all used to love to frequent because of the movies, and then you can take your pictures. I still have my old school pictures from high school with my boo things. When we used to take pictures on 42nd Street. So if you haven't checked out these amazing shows that my two guests have been on, you are definitely sleeping. And you're also sleeping if you haven't subscribed to my streaming platforms. Please, you can catch me on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Podcast Go, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and you can also go to my website, www.sanyaonair.com. So Jamel Howard, he's going to be joining us via phone in just a few short minutes. I'm so excited to talk to him. I'm always excited to talk to individuals that I see on television, or I listen to their music, or I'm reading their books, because what you see in this realm of Hollywood and entertainment, it may not be exactly who these individuals are. So for me, it is a blessing and also an honor to be able to just kind of pick their brains to figure out like what's going on behind the cameras. What do they do on their downtime? I know, the Sanya that I present to you, streaming, and when you're listening to me on the radio, there's a whole other side. How many of you have alter egos? I know I do. I have Sanya Hudson Payne. Okay, that's the professional one. That's the really, really nice one, right? Why do I sound bipolar? Right? Don't front like we all don't have a little bipolarism. But then there's also Denise. Denise, she likes to have fun. She's the life of the party. Then you have Nisi. Nisi is the one, she is mad. She's tried to calm down, but something has taken over her. And, she just might catch a case, and she has to call a friend on the phone and say, listen, I need you to talk me out of this because I'm about to break a few necks. So we have 3 personalities just living in this one fabulous body. So this is why I like to talk to people that you see on television, you listen to their music, because that's not who they all are. We have so many different lifestyles to us, and we're just trying to make it work in this world that we live in, this crazy, crazy world. I want to really talk about something real, and I wasn't planning on talking about this. Can you but we have our first guest joining us. So I'm going to have to talk about this in just a few moments. Just hold on for just a minute. Why don't you? Just give me 1 second. Let me just pass this off to my engineer so he can make sure that that is the first guest that is calling before we bring Jamel Howard live to you on Sanya On Air. He has an amazing story. Just like my conversation last week with Marquand Smith. You know, there are so many individuals who start from humble beginnings and where they land, and it's not even their destination, but where they currently sit. It's such a far cry from where they started. And I really appreciate individuals like that who can persevere through life's challenges and obstacles as children. You know, we're born and oftentimes we're dealt a lifestyle that we just kind of inherited. And I love talking to individuals who persist through life challenges. Those are the kind of people that I want in my inner circle. I really don't like individuals who are just given every single thing and they don't have to work for anything. There's something about their character that just seems to be an Arrested Development. Who remembers Arrested Development back, what was that, the 80s or 90s? But there's something about individuals who just don't have to work for anything. There isn't a level of humility. But when you find individuals who faced so many challenges and just made it to wherever they wanted to make it to, those are the individuals that I really, really respect. They come to you with a whole cake full of nice ingredients. Let me just tell you where my brain just went for a minute because I'm such a foodie. That's why I mentioned cake. And then when I started talking about cake, I just had a picture of a pineapple upside down cake made by my grandmother who, you know, lived in the South. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to Georgia Andrews, my amazing grandmother. But I'm a foodie. And as you continue to listen to Sanya On Air, you will learn so much more about me. This is only the second episode of season 7. I'm so excited. I'm telling you, to be back in the studio. What I'm going to do is, that might have been the guest. I think I'm going to call him back. And just to make sure if that was him, I hope it wasn't a bill collector trying to call me. They will get hung up on like real quick. Hold on. This is what happens in live radio. Just hold on for a second. Hi, Jamel. Hi, hold on for a second, okay? The show is live. I'm going to bring you in just a few short seconds, okay? Okay. So this is what happens in live podcasting, live radio. I'm so glad that we're always streaming because you get an opportunity to see what happens behind the scenes. And, you know, this is such a difference between the traditional world of entertainment where you're watching television or you're listening to music. You don't see what happens behind the camera, you know, but I always tell my engineer, don't cut off anything. Don't shut off the video. Don't shut off the audio, because there are so many emerging and aspiring podcasters and radio show hosts who inbox me on social media asking me how this show has managed to make it to season 7. So I want you to see everything. So like I told you, joining me, my very first guest is Jamel Howard. He is an actor. He started off rapping, so I just want to figure out what that transition was about. But Jamel, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Let's just make sure that this sound is okay. Just hold on for just a moment because it sounded kind of low. I think it's all the way. I think it's all the way. Okay, if you could just do me a favor and just speak loudly into your phone, okay?
Sure.
Okay. So, you know, you have a testimony because where you started is definitely not where you are today. I just want to talk about your early beginnings growing up on Long Island. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as a kid, you were homeless. You moved around from shelter to shelter. You were also introduced into the foster care system, and you had a near-death experience that I'm not sure what happened. But am I correct in saying that those things happened to you early on in life?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Um, yeah, my mom, she was in the drug game. So at that point, and me and my brothers were split up into different foster care. And from that point, we was in shelters, we was in, and then got into the system of foster care, and then I ended up landing in a spot in Long Island in Freeport, um, after moving around from different shelters in Hempstead and Westbury and things like that. So
Oh,
yeah.
oh wow. Okay, that sounded okay. I think it was the chord that was going on. Oh wow. So okay, so you went through all of that. So when was the pivoting moment where you decided that that wasn't going to be the definition of who you are, and you got interested in, let's say, the world of rap or the world of entertainment?
Well, I met a group of people that met a group of people in Long Island who were we all decided to put a rap group together. But I knew that already in my mind. I already knew that my circumstances was not going to define me at all. I wasn't going to be bound by circumstance. I was looking for opportunities no matter what.
Wow.
So I knew I was going to be doing something, but I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't find myself. So I had to just keep searching for self. So I went into the music and started rapping, and realized a lot of people was like, "Yo, you good."
Mm-hmm.
And the music thing became an outlet for me to just voice, who I was, and what I was going through,
Uh-huh.
and it caught people. It started to catch people. So after a while, short while, I believe that I can take this music and make it into something. And sure enough, I did. I got into the battle game a lot,
Okay.
and rap battling, and I battled a couple people and got my name noticed, and I was in front of record labels
Hmm.
battling people, and I actually got noticed by um, Fat Joe's uncle, and he from that point they pulled me up to the studio, and then I got into the music.
Oh wow! Now that is
Yeah,
definitely a testimony, and you're from Long Island. We call that in New York City the other borough, but I'm forgive you for that one. I'm from Brooklyn.
absolutely.
I'm from Brooklyn, so we
Right.
know that New York City is kind of the foundation or the blueprint of everything great in music, especially in hip hop. So back then, when you started your rap career, who are the people or the rappers that you kind of looked up to and modeled your style after?
Back then, I was a big fan of Biggie. Was I was a huge fan of Biggie.
Uh huh.
Jay Z. I was Nas. Most Def was somebody that I looked up to.
Hmm.
Jada Kiss. Scarface.
Nice.
Outkast at that time. So I had an array of people that that back then the music was so diverse. Like
Yeah.
you can get different energy from different things
Right.
in different artists. But yeah, so that was pretty much. I had a wide array, and I listened to a lot of reggae back then too, classic
Really?
reggae. Yeah,
Oh, you was one of those boys up against the wall with the girl
yeah.
at the party.
Just
That
stand,
was you.
just just standing there and letting them whine. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I wasn't even moving. I don't even move. Just
I,
sit there.
I understand. I won't tell you what type of girl I was back then. That's another story, and my mama might be
Hey,
listening.
hey.
So we'll save that. But what made you change your mind? If you were starting off as a rapper, when did you decide to transition off into the world of acting?
Well, I hit a wall when I basically was torn with some people
Hmm.
and realizing that I wasn't making enough money, and I was still like in the street.
Right.
So at that point I was like I had my daughters. I was like I got to figure out something, a next move
Mm.
to make something happen. And I met somebody while I was on tour that suggested that said, yeah, you should give the acting thing a try. You got a good look, and you got some personality. You should try that.
Right.
And I never thought about it until then. And I went into an open audition for a Burger King commercial,
Hmm.
and I ended up booking it. Like, oh, I booked it.
Right. Right.
So like, and it's and then I got the check, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, nah,
It is
this
serious.
yeah, nah, this is real, and I
Right.
don't have to chase nobody. I ain't got to fight.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, this might be it. And I met a guy that was into management, at that time. He talked to an agent, and they just gave me like a test run. I went on like 5 auditions, and I booked all 5.
Oh,
And they was like, "Well, maybe you're supposed to be doing this."
right,
So,
right.
and that was it. From that point, that first thing that I've done after that open audition for that Burger King, I
Hmm.
jumped right into a role with Jodie Foster and Terrence
Nice,
Howard. Yeah, called The Brave One. And
nice.
that was like, I never was an extra. I always had a role. So that was like, I jumped right into a real role.
Hmm. Hmm.
And from that point, it was, snowball effect. It was it.
See, I appreciate the fact, I don't think, I hope that you understand, what you just said, just about trusting and allowing, an opportunity to present itself because somebody saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself. For all
Right.
of those who are tuning in, step out and dream outside of the box. I'm currently mentoring a young girl who is in high school, and she has such a personality. And I'm telling her, I think that you should go into acting. And she doesn't believe it at all. I said, okay, do me this one solid favor. If another person tells you the same thing, that tells you that that is a direction that you need to be headed into. So I'm glad that you didn't get stuck
Yeah.
saying, listen, I'm going to be a
Well,
rapper for the rest of my life. And you listen to someone redirect your purpose and your passion.
yeah, well, you know what it is? A lot of people got to learn how to read the universe. You understand?
Yes.
And when I learned the gift of reading the universe and allowing things to happen, I start to understand no matter how bad or good a situation is, it's reason behind.
Right.
And then you start to realize that, the life is happening for you, not to you. You know what
Mm,
I'm saying? And everybody looking at it like, damn, this happened to me. This happened to me, but really it's happening for you. You just don't see the reason
that's
yet,
so true. I like
So,
that.
yeah, it's very true. And when I learned how to read the universe and read signs that the universe was aligning and God was aligning, then, you know, everything makes more sense a
It
little later,
does.
but it makes sense. You just got to trust it.
So true, and hopefully, as 2020 approaches, I can't even believe we're at 2020. I hope that more people start to understand the power of their words and how the universe aligns, and you just have to meet the universe where it currently is. So, thank you for capturing that moment. But I'm not sure if you know, but you've played a lot of characters that we absolutely love to hate. Has anybody told you that
Yes,
before?
yes,
How do
yes.
you feel about that? And are people able to kind of detach your on air acting personalities from the real you?
Depends on where I am. I
Okay.
could say because, for instance, like the show Orange Is the New Black is, I'm Janae Watson's boyfriend, the girl that run track, and I'm the reason she's in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people know that I had her robbing check cashing places, and she got caught. So
Right.
when I'm riding on the train in New York, people tend to be like, "Yo, oh, you the dude, man, you left that girl," and
Uh-huh.
so so it's cool though because people identify with the characters, so that's the main thing,
That
and it's
is.
important.
That is
Um,
that is important that your character definitely resonates with people. I recently saw, I think it was last week, I caught the new, I don't even think it's new. It was on BET. I think I saw it on my Fire Stick. Deadly Dispatch. You
oh
are
yeah,
amazing.
thank
Amazing
you.
in that. I mean, menacing. I was like, why is he treating her like that? All she's just trying to do is, find out who killed her best friend.
Right, right. She trying to find out. She just trying to find that out. I'm over here,
Yeah, you was extra.
got guns in the face and
Yes.
everything. Like,
You were
so,
extra, but you were also extra on Power. We were kind of happy, to see, your demise, but we wanted to make sure that you were still acting, after that. But how was it working with 50 Cent on Power?
oh man, it was amazing. A lot of people have their own thing about meeting 50, and they have their own opinion about him. I truly had a great experience with the brother. We spent a lot of time hanging. I basically was on Team Canaan, so I was brought into that by Canaan, brought
Uh-huh.
into the circle of power by Canaan. So my character, anyway. So I get to hang with him. Got a chance to hang with him a lot, and
Mm.
actually just talk and kick it with him. He's a real cool dude, man. He got a level head, knows what he's doing, and he has a lot of information that a lot of people don't have access to.
Right.
So when he's talking a lot, you're supposed to listen.
Yeah.
People like that. So I learned a lot from him just hanging with him.
So, what did you exactly listen to and what did you learn? Because I believe when powerful people are in the room, especially when you're seated right next to them, you should, kind of absorb everything that you can. So, what did he say and what did he speak into you that you still hold with you today?
That like one time I showed him something that I was doing that I actually wrote and created myself,
Hmm.
and he was just telling me a little bit about what's the important part about it. And he just was like, I believe that the marketing is very important. You should try to approach it. If marketing is a great idea, you should approach it. So the way he was, basically what he was saying was like the project that I wrote and that I did has never been done, and I should really basically focus on the marketing aspect of it, and because it hasn't been done yet. But he's dope, man. I've learned so much other stuff from him that some stuff you just keep to yourself. But he's a great individual, man. I think that he's a beacon for a lot of people, and
Yeah,
whether they see it or not, a lot of people might act whatever, because how went about getting to where he is. But
right.
everybody has their own path and walk for whatever
Exactly.
reason they have it. It's a matter of where they are now, and and their beliefs and their morals now.
True.
So he's a good dude. My experience was wonderful working with him.
So, another amazing individual, someone who also helped shape a culture in hip hop. Irv Gotti, you were on an episode of Trap Queen on BET's Tales. So tell me
Yes,
about your experience working with another great, Irv Gotti.
yeah, man. Irv was cool too as well, and I he Irv is like to me, he was like a big kid that just figured some new stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And he was excited for the project, and he should been, as he should be, because it was dope. The project Tales is, they take different songs and make them whole episodes, which is amazing. You would have unlimited content to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and it should be real fun to be able to take any song from back in the days and make it a whole show.
Yeah, that was huge.
So yeah, so we had a lot of fun shooting that. Our episode was Trap Queens with me, Woody McClain, Michelle Mitchener, Lance Gross, couple of those guys. Right now they want to actually take that episode and maybe make it bigger,
Oh,
do something
really?
else with it. Yeah, it's a question. He was cool, man. Irv had all intentions of making something that was a small idea into something great.
Mm-hmm.
That was his focus, and he's getting there. So I had a ball shooting with those guys.
Good, good. It really sounds like, the roles that you've landed, they seem to have created a nice place in your memory bank, something that can make you smile, something that, do you have children? That you can probably
Yes.
tell your children, listen, this is what
Oh yeah.
daddy did, it helps shape a culture. But something that you are about to embark upon, I don't know if they've started filming yet, but you are about to play Tretch in the Lifetime biopic of Salt and Pepper. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's huge.
We shooting it, wrapping it up now. So,
Oh.
yeah, I'm playing Trench from Naughty by Nature. He was married to Pepper,
Uh-huh.
um, and which they just started actually releasing some press on it. I just seen like CBS News thing saying I'm playing Tretch and
Nice.
releasing the people. But it was amazing to play anybody that was an actual icon.
Yes.
That's amazing in itself, especially
Mm-hmm.
me coming from music background, and Tretch and them were like, man, forget it. Those were some of the biggest artists I've ever
I
known,
know. I know. OPP
and
will forever be,
forget it, forget it.
forever.
Not to mention he's a friend of mine.
Cool.
That's what made it even crazy. Is like this is a friend of mine I hang out with.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, it was amazing. It
So
was
talk
amazing.
about that audition process. What was the audition process for the role? How many times did you have to go in? Where were you when you got the call that you landed the role?
I was in LA and I was actually gonna leave and head to New York for something else, and I got a call and they said, "Listen, they want you to come read for Tretch," and I'm like, "Read for Tretch," and they like, "No, read for the role of Tretch." I'm like, "Oh, because I was I'm like, "What is that about?"
Right, right.
But so then I go and I said, "Wait a minute, so." Whose movie is it? And they said, "Oh, it's a Salt and Pepper biopic." I said, "Okay,"
Hmm.
and I was like, "So how many people they have up for the role?"
Right.
And they was like, "Well, they got like 5 or 6 people coming in to read." I said, "Okay, where they from?"
Uh-huh.
"Oh, California and this," and I'm like, "Oh man, you know what? Watch this." I went to Home Depot. I
Uh-huh.
bought me a big chain with a lock on it.
Ah.
You know what I'm saying? I went and
Yes.
grabbed right. I went and grabbed my wife beater,
Uh-huh.
threw me a hat, threw my hat on, my scully on.
Right.
Went in there with the wife beater, my tattoo showing, with the chain on, and was like,
Right.
"Yo, what up?" You know what I'm saying? It was like, "Wait a minute," It was like,
Wow.
"Okay, yeah." They had me read. They were just, they can see that I have a connection with
Right.
the character. You can see you wouldn't hire. Tretch is from the East Coast. He's threaded in the East Coast, like you
Yeah.
can see, he drips it.
Yeah.
So you can see that. So you wouldn't hire somebody from California to play
Right,
that role.
right, from San Fernando
So
Valley. That we're not going to do that. We want this
now
to be,
exactly.
we want this to be authentic here because hip hop is so authentic, and the fake resonates. It really does, and we
That's
can spot a
right.
fake from a mile away. So did Tretch even have conversations with you about how you should portray him in this new biopic?
No, no, he actually didn't have much to do with this.
Okay,
This was all Salt and Pepper's production. So
okay,
they were executive producers. He didn't have much to do with it. Um, so I couldn't really. I mean, I already know him, and
hmm,
I've been with him enough to. I can mimic. I'm an actor, so I can mimic people very
right,
well, and we kind of favor already. So it didn't take much to turn me into him physically,
hmm.
except for damn, I had to get in the gym.
I hate that
I was
part.
I was like, oh man, this dude had a little 6-pack back then.
Yes, he
Oh, bro.
did. Yes, he
So
did.
I had to go in the gym and just tighten it up a little
Right.
bit.
Wow,
But
preparing for the role. Wow. I
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
This is huge. So, a lot of what the media has shown us about the relationship between Tretch and Peppa, has been on the downward spiral, some allegations of physical abuse. What will your character showcase and highlight in this new Salt and Pepper biopic?
Well, I think it's important to note that everybody's relationship is different level wise. You don't know what people were going through 100% because nobody's in nobody's bedroom. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So
Right.
the outside media and people aren't in the bedroom with them or in wherever they are most of the time when things were going on. So I must say that they are. It is the love and the strength of um of that relationship is seen. So you're gonna know that that the love was there. So and that's the main thing. Whether together or not, that they really truly did love each other.
Yeah.
Um, which was very important.
Yeah, that's so important. I'm so glad that a lot of the hip hop icons that I kind of, looked to in the 80s and the 90s. I'm glad that television is starting to understand their relevancy here in today's space, and they're creating more content so that this younger generation, the little OGs, can really see the foundation for this whole big space that we call hip hop. So, like,
That's right.
are you still doing music?
Yeah. I mean, hobby wise, I'm not chasing it like I used to, but um, right now I'm creating. I'm doing a lot of writing and shooting my own films as well. So
Nice.
I will definitely incorporate my music, within that. I'm not chasing any record deal, anything like that. So what I'm
Hmm.
doing will definitely just be for my hobby.
Nice, nice. So going back to the Salt and Pepper biopic real quick, when can we expect to see that on Lifetime?
I'm not sure. It'll be this year sometime. I'm not sure the exact release.
And you're still filming or has it wrapped already?
It's just now rapping.
Okay, okay. So it was filmed out in LA or here in New York?
Well, we filmed in Canada
Oh, in
actually.
Canada? Damn. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So if you could choose your dream role, what would that role be?
My dream role would be a role like one of the Vikings or werewolves on Underworld, that type of thing.
Really?
Or yep, I love to do like character work, like that type of character work, like put on prosthetics and things and
Mm-hmm.
have power and stuff like that, like X Men or Avengers, that type of thing.
Right.
Marvel,
Right.
and I've worked on the Marvel. I've played Shamik in Marvel Luke
Luke
Cage,
Cage,
but
amazing job.
yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, so I didn't, but I didn't get to have any powers or anything. So
Right.
I'm looking to come back as someone with powers.
Mm-hmm.
For all those Marvel people listening. Things like that. Those are my favorite type of characters.
Nice, nice. You have such an amazing story, an amazing journey. And I know that this story and your genre of being an actor in this whole entertainment and Hollywood space, this is just the beginning for you. So kudos to you. So along with this Salt and Pepper biopic and you filming your own content, anything else that you have coming up that you want to talk about before we wrap up this conversation?
No. There's some other things coming that I can't talk about right now, but it'll hit the airwaves soon.
Nice.
So that besides that, I am filming. Well, I just finished filming a show that I've created that'll be up and running soon. Working with Keenan Thompson. Um,
Nice.
doing some work together, and a couple of other things I'm working on as well. So it'll be coming out soon. But for now, everybody, y'all can go to HBO. Make sure y'all watching the movie The First Purge. I'm one of the main characters on that.
Yeah,
It's
another
called.
character that we love to hate, Jamel. Another
Yeah,
character we
yeah.
love to hate. But someone
Well,
just entered into the room. I think you know this person. She's looking like, huh? She joined Power. I believe it was on season 5. She played Tariq's girlfriend, Andrea Rachel
yeah,
Parker.
yeah. Of course,
She's here.
Rachel, right?
This is Jamel Howard.
Well,
Yes, she's next on my schedule, so I'm going to have a conversation with her. But thank you so much for your candor, and thank you for sharing your testimony, and thank you for sharing your intellectual capital in this space. I greatly appreciate you, and I send you continued blessings as you
thank,
embark upon your amazing journey. You take care.
thank you. I appreciate you. You take care too.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, bye.
So there you have it, another great conversation, connecting the big OGs to the little OGs, because as you can see, he's played some amazing roles, characters that we absolutely love to hate. He is going to be playing Tretch on the new Salt and Pepper biopic that will be premiering on Lifetime. This is such an amazing space for 2020. I'm so excited about what's about to happen. As you can see, there are so many big OGs that really just resonated the hip hop space, the culture in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. And now you're seeing their conversations and their narratives start to explode so that this younger generation, who I love to call the little OGs, can start to see where the foundation was created. But I have another great conversation joining us right now in the studio. So I'm just going to ask this queen to have a seat right here and put on her headphones. Andrea Rachel Parker, such a dope actress. Like I told you, I watch her every single week. I believe this is the second season on HBO's The Deuce. She also played in Wu-Tang and American Saga on Hulu. I got Hulu specifically for this series. Didn't even have it up until now. So, Andrea, how are you?
I'm trying to get this.
Because we don't want to mess up the hair. No, I have a big hair.
And then I try to put on headphones and it doesn't work.
I love your hair. I love the color and everything. So you want to leave the headphones off, or?
I mean, I guess I can.
Yeah.
I want to be a professional.
I know, right? We got to keep it cute and professional. You know, I have my candle here. I have my Fenty lip gloss that I have some feedback about.
Reed.
Yeah, shout out to Reed. We will talk about this lip gloss, on another segment of the show. But, I just want to give my audience some backstory about you and about our, professional relationship. It was about a year ago, almost this exact time. Yes. I wanted to take my brand into a different direction. And I was filming a talk show pilot, and I had asked you to be one of my very first guests. And you didn't show up. I told you I wasn't mad about this. I wasn't mad because I knew that you're good people. And I knew that it wasn't personal. I was like, okay, something is going on. So after you didn't show, I automatically went to Hooters. I went to Hooters, and I eventually learned that you were in the middle of this role. You were auditioning at that point for Wu-Tang and American Saga on Hulu. So let's talk about that space real quick. Talk about the audition process for you and securing and landing that role.
Well, I just want to say thank you for still considering me good people.
Yes!
Especially after something like that. I mean, I always say in situations like that, blame it on my mind and not my heart.
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens is in the chaos of trying to get your regular life together and the auditions going, something gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
So not to blame on anyone else, I take full responsibility, but sometimes the correspondence doesn't go where it should in order to update everyone.
Right.
And so at the time, I told certain people that I would be out of town, and they forgot to follow up with why and to who and what was scheduled. So when I finally remembered that, I haven't heard from them, and we finally had a discussion as to did they give everyone the update, I found that there were some holes, considerably yours, because you started calling and texting hey, what's going on? Right. And so I was like, wait, I think somewhere along the lines something was misconstrued. And so I'm fully apologetic, but literally that day I had just gotten into LA for my test shoot for Wu-Tang. Wow. And so that's why I was like, no matter what, I can't, but I really want to be there.
You couldn't have missed that. I would have beat you up if you came to my show and not done that, because when I tell you, you bodied that whole role.
Thank you.
I mean, that entire series, it did something for the culture. But you said on that particular day you were test reading for that. So talk about that for those who don't know what a test read is.
Right. So a lot of times you have several callbacks and you have several audition phases before you actually know if you're going to get the role or not. Right. And so with this particular role, I ended up doing, I think, I want to say 2. I don't want to exaggerate. So maybe 2-3 regular auditions where I got called back. And this was for a completely different role. This wasn't for Mama Ganja where you guys see me. This was actually for Cherie.
Really?
Yes. Wow. And it was so interesting because when I read the script, as an actress, you want the bigger roles or the roles that are more meaty.
But there's no small roles. That's
there
what I've been
aren't any
told.
small roles, but as you do certain things, you do want different opportunities, and the more time you have with a character, the more you get to explore a lot of different things about them and have more fun with it. So when you get a series regular, it's a big deal. Right. And so having this series regular audition was a big deal for me because I was like, on one end, I really, really want this. I want to be a part of the story. I like this character, and this would be a good progression in my acting career. But I read Mama Ganja, and even though she even in the script that I got, it wasn't a lot of her, but just the way she was described and given the energy behind, I was like, oh no, I like her. She's more me. So it was kind of interesting for me to be auditioning for a role that in the back of my mind I was always like, dang, but this other character though,
Right.
even though it was a smaller role, like you tell yourself to have common sense and just go with the bigger role, but something in you always like knows what's for you and what's not for you.
You know, this is confirmation because my first conversation with Jamel, we were just talking about allowing the universe to speak to you.
Right.
And it may speak to you in a way that is totally different from the way that you're speaking to yourself. And the universe may put you on a different path and direction, and trust that process.
My problem is trusting things.
Mine too, honey.
Yeah, I
Girl.
be hearing it and I be okay.
Honey,
now.
child, please.
But what about this? And what
Right,
about that? And
yes.
you thought about this? And wait, now hold up. When you say this, did
Yeah,
you mean that?
I know.
Or you know, so I got questions. That's my problem.
Me too.
But I'm working through that, and yeah. So I went out there finally. I got a test shoot, which is like supposed to be one of the biggest end all be all type of auditions for a role.
Okay.
Which is like sometimes they take it as far as to, you know, putting you into costume or putting you into a certain environment that would be similar to the one that you're shooting in.
Right.
Sometimes it's just, you know, like having everyone that's a part of the network and a part of the show that are like behind the scenes are there to watch you and like select you. But in this particular instance, it was just really taking all the audition material and then running through it, trying different like ways to do them, getting some direction, trying it with the different direction, and you know, just sitting down and talking to the creators, Riza and Alex, and you know, seeing what can be manifested. And it was cool because that day is the first day that I saw Alexandra.
Who's that?
She plays the mom.
Oh, yeah, from Living Single.
Yes.
I forgot her name.
This is
That's a
just
shame.
edit this part out. 'Cause this is not respectful. I did not mean this in the blame.
I understand. I understand. I can't even believe that I forgot her name, but I just want to ask you real
Yeah, she
quick.
played Maxine. What is going
I
on
know.
right now? It is Alex.
And she was supposed to be on the show. We were in conversation.
But yeah, that was the first time I saw her and I met her, and it was really cool. And I saw like a lot of other familiar faces. And
Yeah.
so like it felt like I was supposed to be there,
Right.
and I felt like I gave a really great audition. It was just something that like I was like, I came back and I said to D, I said, you know, I really feel like I did what I was supposed to do, but it's not going to hit. I'm like, I don't know, like this is not it. And he was just like, well, at least you did what you could do, and they know
Yeah.
that you're talented. And I was just like, okay.
So
I'll
who
deal with
is
that.
D? As I
Oh,
see him
he's
in
my
the room.
business. Yeah, he's my business partner, but he also
Nice.
acts as like, you know, security, a friend.
Ah! Yeah, I see you in your all black over there,
Yeah,
me
he
mugging.
just-
Smile for the camera, why don't you?
Right. So yeah, like I was a little bit like, I don't know how to feel. Like I know I didn't do bad, but I feel like something else is missing. And then I got a call back again, and I was just like, but it was for Mama Ganja.
Nice. But the reason why I asked you, you know, who is it that you're referring to, D, is because I want people to understand about allowing people into your space, especially when you are a creative mind and when you're always asking questions like, am I doing the right thing? Did I wear the right thing? Did I talk to the right people?
Right.
And just having people in your space that can kind of calm you down, redirect you. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there was a testimony and a life lesson for someone tuning in that needed to hear that. But I just want to ask you real quick.
Yeah,
if
he
you don't
tries.
mind.
He tries. to
He
keep it
tries?
calm.
I
Yeah.
bet you-
We bump heads more than we actually like get along. But you know the saying, "Deal with the devil you know."
Yes.
So like sometimes I
Yes.
feel like people are in your corner so long that like that's a testimony in and of itself. The
True.
effort there, you know, like
True.
you don't have to be perfect to be around someone. You just
Yeah.
have to maybe have, you know, the right intentions or whatever.
True.
So you know his energy can be a little, but
Look,
mean-
he's shaking it.
look, we gotta be honest.
We got to be honest. We got to be
But
honest.
I'm not perfect. I'm very flawed as well. So
Exactly.
like, yeah.
I understand.
But we're great friends. I've known
Cool.
him for a really long time.
So you
yeah.
started off
He's
as
like
friends
family.
and then it became a working professional relationship, or did
Well-
it start the other way around?
No, we went to school together, so it definitely
Nice.
started
What,
as
college,
friends.
high school?
Yeah, we went to junior high school together.
A friend from way back. Oh yeah, so that's where the
Most of my friendships and my kinships are from
Really?
like elementary school, junior high school, high school.
That's so dope, because a lot of my elementary, junior high school friends, maybe about one or two. And
Yeah, it's not a
hold
lot,
them-
but the
right, I
majority,
hold-
yeah.
yeah. And you know, like she knows me like the back of my hand. Shout out to Tasha Mabry. You know, she's just a dope entrepreneur, female. But I want to ask you a question, if you don't mind. How old are you? Are you in your 20s, 30s? How old are you?
I'm in my 20s.
You're in your 20s? Really? And this is why, because when I found out that you were in Wu-Tang and American Saga, and I was like, she's kind of young, right? How familiar were you with Wu-Tang?
Oh, no, I'm very familiar. Okay, so I have an acting age and I have a real age. Either way, I'm still in my 20s for now. And so, whichever way you calculate, I'm still there. But hanging on for dear life. No.
Right, girl, tell me about it.
Change is coming right around the corner. No, but really, I'm very familiar with them regardless because of my culture, my environment. So like I'm from Brooklyn.
Shout out to Brooklyn in the house. Give me high five for that one.
Yeah, so me being from BK, home of Biggie and Jay.
Yes.
That's just really like
we're born with a sense of culture.
Yeah, like you just know a little. I just
Yeah.
feel like Brooklyn people get it. We know a little
do.
bit more. We pay attention to a little bit more. We're a little bit more street savvy.
You can't escape the
Right.
culture in Brooklyn. I mean, you can walk down the streets and the music is just blaring from someone's car or from outside
I mean,
of
there's
someone's
graffiti
window.
everywhere.
Yeah.
When you really pay it, like I said, I feel like Brooklynites, we ask questions
Yeah,
and
you do.
we're not inside. Like when you're younger and you're from Brooklyn, you're outside most of the time. You're gonna come in, whether you're hanging out in a different area or not, you're gonna come across things that make you ask questions. And even if you're not asking them to another person, because you definitely have the culture of shut your mouth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even if you're not asking them to another person, what ends up happening is you're asking them in your own head and you're coming up with your own answers and you're paying attention to the economics of things and you're seeing what buildings stay and you're seeing what buildings go and you're seeing
Right.
how they market themselves and how they've grown or if they've stayed the same. And in doing that, you learn a lot.
True.
But when it comes down to Wu-Tang, just being from Brooklyn, like hip hop is a big deal in Brooklyn. You
Yeah.
can't live in Brooklyn and not know hip hop
So
to
true.
some degree.
So true.
So with Wu-Tang having the impact that they did on the New York culture, it's just like, yeah, I know about it. I might not be the wizard of
Right.
Wu-Tang, but I definitely love a lot of their music.
Me too. Me too. To this day. And I know that Hulu series, I learned so much more. It just gave me a different lens and a different experience as to what shaped them to be this amazing, iconic group. But I grew up with Wu-Tang, as they grew up, and you being in your 20s and also being on this series, what did you learn about Wu-Tang that you didn't even know before?
What did I learn? They were really patient with one another, and they really are a family. I think sometimes in the media that gets lost, and I know that people always say that they were brothers or, that they're a unit or that they're one, but then you hear about these different quarrels. So seeing the family dynamic of them sitting at a table and them having discussions and them having meetings, that's a different type of business savvy that you don't see back then, like even when it comes down to the family being broken or being, incomplete in some way, they still found a way to kind of shift that conversation and sit people down and have food and have discussions and argue and be snappy, and a lot of people can't even get that far. So I think that's beautiful because I don't sit down at the table with people.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, how no matter what happened and the fights and the quarrels, they were able to bring it back and understand that we're a family foremost before a group.
And the way that they showed family, because a lot of people say family and what they mean is that you just have to deal with me through all my BS.
Right.
And sometimes, that's just not true. That's not the case. You have to be able to discuss things. You have to be able to get through arguments. You have to be able to have a level of transparency and honesty, and you have to be able to call people out. And so there was a lot of sitting down at the table, breaking bread, but also I'm calling you out. Like, you're being lazy and you're being stupid, and I think this, and they did it in their way. Honestly, this is not verbatim, but I feel like that in and of itself is very inspiring.
Yeah, it was. I wish that more people could be in that space. I'm glad and blessed to have a friend who can kind of tell me things, I can tell her things, and we're not caught up in our feelings.
Right.
You can't do that with a lot of people, and I have a lot of enemies because I stand in my truth. And damn it, if I see your pussy print through your spandex, I'm gonna tell you.
We're going there.
We're going there. Like, I'm gonna be
Those
honest.
type of things, I like to mind my business.
I'm gonna tell you. But
Your
also-
vagina is your business. The way it gets ventilation is up to you. So again, in those areas, I mind my business.
I just had to tell someone.
But no,
one time.
I definitely.
She was a friend.
No, but if she's a friend,
She
it's
was a
different. Like
friend.
I'm the friend also where I want you to tell me if I have a booger in my nose. I want
Right.
you to tell me if like,
Right.
ooh, girl, take a mint. You know, like I like that. Shout out to my cousin Anika as well. She runs Boss Babes, Do Brunch, and we have that back and forth relationship also because
you can't do that with everyone.
Yeah,
can't do that.
We deal with each other.
So another role that you bodied on HBO's The Deuce.
Thank you,
girl. Wait, before we even go into
like
that,
this much room,
but still, you bodied it. It's such
show.
a young age, and we're going to talk about that. But let me just wrap up that conversation and questioning about Wu-Tang and American Saga.
Okay.
Will it be renewed?
I don't know.
Really?
I mean, maybe
waiting.
I'm out the loop. Honestly, around the beginning of that, maybe even before then, I just kind of like removed myself from a lot. And like I was in a mental space of trying to figure out, what I was going to go into 2020 doing. Of course, acting still. That's a dream that I'm going to keep on manifesting and unfolding, but just other ventures and things as well. And so I haven't really kept up with the conversation on renewal, but I know when the season was wrapping up that we were in such strong talks and we had great numbers and there was a lot of like good stuff to be happy and proud about. So I could be wrong in saying that they haven't even announced or said yet. I don't even know if they feel like there's a need, but I know that it made such an impact. I know Hulu loved it. I know that everyone's really happy with it. And I think if they gave it a bigger chance, it could do so much more.
I think it did a lot for
RZA is a phenomenal leader.
Amazing.
He's super like understanding, respectful, kind, and so I really feel like it's only up for the Wu-Tang like saga period, whether it's on Hulu, whether it's in a different form or so yeah.
I hope so. So for all of you listening in, make sure that you let Hulu know that we need a season 2 of Wu-Tang and American Saga because it was amazing.
Season 2, season 3, but only if you bring me.
Okay, we're gonna put that out in the universe. Let me find out you got little singing chops going on there.
No.
So, the purpose of the show, I want to connect the big OGs to the little OGs, right?
Yes.
And your role on HBO's The Deuce.
Ooh.
You're in your 20s, so I'm going to consider you a little OG.
Aww.
You have an opportunity to experience the splendidness
Heavyweight
of 42nd Street or The Deuce. Back in my era, it was a place that you did not want to be. I would, tell my parents on Easter, listen, Mom, my friends and I, we want to go to the movies. That's what we did back then on Easter. And my parents definitely had a problem, so I had to sneak and go to 42nd Street.
You guys went to the movies on Easter?
Yes, that was a big thing. Either the movies or
wish.
Coney Island.
Okay, Coney Island was definitely an Easter thing.
Yeah, but that was a part of the culture on 42nd Street. So, being a character on that series, what did you learn about The Deuce that you had no idea? Because you see it all in its glitz and glamours now, and in 2019.
I really loved being a part of the show. I'm really excited that I got to be a part of a story that's like that. But what I learned is that the men that we see in that environment love Black women.
Yes,
and I wish that was a little bit. I wish that was explored a little bit more, instead of feeling like we're here and there and like we're a commodity. Like just being very honest and transparent. I learned in my own research that that was a time where they tried a lot of different things, and the thing that they felt the freest, especially because of the disco and the music, was through Black women.
Right.
And our bodies and our makeup and our hair and everything, our lips were just really alluring to them. And so even though it didn't necessarily fit the story they were telling for The Deuce, I was able to learn that there was a whole other movement that was being orchestrated, even with the LGBTQ community. And, it was about, in its own weird, sick and twisted way, if you really take a step back in its own weird way, amongst like all the other things going on, it was rooted in love.
It was. So that was a time a time period piece. So was that the 70s or the 80s?
So it went through, and then it ended in the 80s.
Okay.
Approaching the 80s.
I love the Deuce. But, as you were talking, I didn't even think about it through that lens about the exploration of, the love of the Black woman. And you're seeing a lot of diversity and mixed relationships. But as you were saying that, I was like, was that attributed to prostitutes are always seen in that way, in a sexual way? Black, green, white, purple, whatever. Pussy has no color. So was it a real exploration of that?
Out the prostitution category and just talking about in that day and age and in that era, along with the music, the makeup, and all the mayhem with the drugs and AIDS, becoming a bigger deal because of the drugs and the promiscuity, and with the music being so vibrant and this being a huge like party era and, go out, be glammed. It was kind of like just to even see Bernice in a position where she's behind a bar and she's trusted, like that's also because of the relationship that Bobby and her have cultivated, which is not talked about, but it has to be hinted. Obviously, because he's going off and doing his own thing when you watch the series, he's had his fun and he continues to have it, and he wants to, have his freedom. So, he kind of keeps her there. But that type of trust still comes from the fact of there's still an underlying like love between.
So let's just talk about power a little bit, because we
respect.
have to wrap this up very soon. I know you're no longer on Power. You are another character that we absolutely loved to hate. But do you still watch
Destiny?
Oh, no, we did not.
Yes, yeah.
Destiny kind of steered Tyreek in all the wrong direction and didn't give him the support that he needed, but they were both young and very impressionable.
See, that is not true. She didn't steer him anything. She was used.
Yeah, she was used.
She was used by her own family.
By her own family.
She was manipulated.
That's the word, because that happens to a lot of young girls.
And he left her stranded for dead. And she didn't do anything with the intention of I'm going to destroy a family or hurt someone that I care about.
She was encouraged to do that through her
But
family.
she didn't know. She was actually threatened and forced, you see?
True. But do you
And
still
she
watch
didn't know
Power?
that was... I haven't.
No? So you
No.
just was on the show and you left and you like, that's it?
No, so before before I even auditioned, I was watching. Like, I'm such a fan of the show. Don't get me wrong. Like, Omari Hardwick does excellent work.
Amazing job.
Like, I was a fan of his before, so, kudos to him. And then I did the show. I auditioned, I got it, and then I filmed, and, it was a great journey, a big journey, and I maintained watching it up until season 5. So when I say that I haven't been able to watch it, I just mean like I haven't gotten through season 6 yet.
Gotcha.
But that's still an intention of mine to make sure I get through. But again, I took myself out of certain spaces, so I haven't been, keeping up with everything that I used to keep up with, just for me and my mental capacity.
Because you're busy, honey. Busy and booked.
No, sometimes but sometimes part of self-care is just taking a step back.
So true.
And getting mentally together.
That's a word, because there are some people. I've been doing this every Sunday. I shut down entirely. There are some people who don't understand that, and I'm not apologizing for that space. I need to refuel, because I think of myself as a bank. When I'm walking outside, I'm constantly making withdrawals to other people. Sundays is a day for me to make the deposits.
I just feel
I gotta
like
do it.
in the acting world, sometimes we're constantly looking for approval or validation, and I've never really been that person. So it's always been harder for me to be in a space where I have to say, well, accept me for this role, or accept me for, this talent, or, do that. And then doing it often so consistently and trying to maintain go. Sometimes you're there and mentally you're just not there. You're just like somewhere else and you find yourself in La La Land. Yeah. And so for me, it's just kind of like I found that I was becoming, the more I did, the more I lost interest in a lot of things, and I just wasn't as motivated, and I wasn't, feeling the positive energy anymore. So I decided to take a step back, not even just because I was giving into people, I just wasn't necessarily all of myself. So I just wanted to get back to a mental space where I feel like I could be more present and there and aware. And I just now I'm coming to terms, like Beyonce does something where she only talks to people. Or I don't know if she still does this, but years ago, as I was a child, she was on, I think, the Tyra show, and she said that she only talks to people on Sundays, or she had a separate phone line that she spoke to people on Sundays. And I don't know if it was an exaggeration, if it was a joke. I was young when I saw it anyway, but I thought that was really smart.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going with this.
I just found out about 2 days ago on my phone it has a do not disturb feature, and I'm going to commit at a specific time every single day. I'm going to put on the do not disturb feature because I am tired of the conversation.
No, literally, I've never taken it off. I put it on one day and I never took it off.
I'm going to start.
When I look at my phone is when I look at my phone and I see a text.
I have to do that.
Nothing
So
comes through.
we have to,
Wrap it up?
Yeah, but I want to play a little short game with you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I am going to name a big OG. Now that big OG can be a person or it can be the name of a brand. Now, once I name that big OG, I want you to give me the first word that comes to your mind.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
This is my favorite one right here. Lil' Kim.
Badass.
Ah, yes.
She's badass.
Denzel Washington.
I used to now I put to the handling like a
real bit.
Yes, that's my honey. Hey baby.
Denzel Washington.
This is not the word that I want to use, but just graceful.
Graceful.
Yeah, I feel like there's a more masculine term that I'm looking for, but you said quick, so I'm just going to say it.
Okay, let me throw out this big OG brand. Let's see if you are familiar with this one. FUBU.
Of course, legendary.
And this is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's a Different World.
It's a different world, woo, than where you come from. Yes, it is now. Whitley. That's what I think of.
Dwayne.
She was just so funny. And like, I have a friend that I literally call Whitley or Hillary.
Really?
Because that's her personality. So like, whenever I think of a different world, I think of her and I think of those characters. So, hey, Victoria.
Wow. Well, okay, so one last question.
Okay.
What's up next for you?
Still auditioning, on hold for a few things, so I'm just hoping that something sticks and something's really there. And then I have a platform that I'm going to be launching in 2020 that I'm excited about. I don't want to talk about. I was in positions before I spoke about things that I didn't want to speak about yet, just because I was told to. So I don't want to speak about it yet.
We understand.
But it's something for the community, and I feel like it could be really positive, and so I'm excited.
Nice, nice. So I'm sure, my listeners were captivated by your words and your conversation and your energy. And I'm sure they want to follow you on Instagram. Give us your Instagram handle.
I am Andrea Rachel. IAMANDREA
I'm glad you spelled it because, some people had a poor public school education. They may not know.
IAMANDREARACHEL.
And if you can't find that, then something's wrong. Okay. But Andrea, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. This was fun.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. You have great energy. No, you're really good. No, you're good. And this was fun. It was simple and cool. It was like the perfect of everything.
I just want it to be a casual conversation.
No,
nothing tight and tense. Let's just act.
And the way that you blessed Jamel after his phone conversation, I need the same kind of blessing.
Oh, I was going to give you that. Okay. I would definitely. That's how, I always want to make sure.
That was beautiful.
That everything just wraps itself up in love. And, we will always stay connected because I think that you are amazing.
Thank you.
You're going places. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
So the universe is going to give you everything that you need. What I'm going to ask you to do is to stay true to yourself and give yourself the time that you need so that you can stand in your truth.
Yes, I don't
and
rush
block
anything.
out all of that noise.
Okay.
Because we definitely want to continue seeing you
on
our television screens.
Thank you.
Where you connect the big OGs to the little OGs and you do it so gracefully.
Thank you.
You like that, right?
I do. Thank you.
Okay.
And I like that Pinhead. Let me tell you, that was one of the movies when I was a kid that really used to scare the living daylights out of me.
Can we put that in there? Let's grab that so that the viewers
See, things like this date me. This is how you start to figure out how old I really
I know,
am.
but this is the purpose of this platform, Sanya
yeah.
On Air, to connect the big OGs to the little OGs. So I'm glad that we did so, you know, with such style and grace. Shout out to Biggie, because that's a Biggie lyric. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing edition of Sanya On Air. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram, Sanya On Air, and you can catch all Sanya On Air shows streaming on Spotify, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, Podcast Go, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and on my website, www.sanyaonair.com.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Smooches, dolls. Mwah.